You want to watch this episode if you're curious whether or not there's a one-size-fits-all credibility survey that anyone can take and everyone will be immediately scaled to a credibility factor as is. Just hint, hint, the answer is no. So how do you modify things across cultures, across industries, across verticals? Come and listen to this episode and find out more. I'm excited about today's particular episode. I'm going to be answering two questions. Once again, I'm going to combine them together. And the answer is I don't know if I know the answer. So we're going to see what happens as I answer these questions and how it turns out. And I think the answer will unfold itself over time. First question, how do you measure credibility? And if you use different instrumentation across cultures and groups, I will share both what we do today, what I did on the survey, and then clearly the importance of potentially changing the instrumentation used and or the interpretation. So I'll get to that one. Let's do the second one. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the credibility of engagement surveys. As a researcher by trade, it's a credibility red flag when these surveying organizations claim to all be measuring the same thing, employee engagement, yet they all use different surveys and questions. I feel that as the industry grows, it needs an injection of credibility as soon as possible. And sorry, Andrew, it took me a long time to get to this one. I just needed more time to think through an appropriate construct. And what I'll say is I'm not even sure there is a great answer today, but let me tell you first, we'll start off by how do I measure credibility? I interviewed over 500 thought leaders, 570 to be exact, and most of the work that we did was empirical. I mean, there's some quantitative issues that dealt up of like coming on time, being prepared. I mean, there's definitely some quantitative stuff in the numbers, but a lot of qualitative work. And it was empirical by actual observation. And so let me step back, and as I'm looking at the definition of credibility, it's the quality that people know, like, and trust you. It is, and underneath each of the being known, being likable, being trustworthy are 10 components. So overall, there are 10 components under those 3 pillars. So what's interesting is on the known, under being known, it's by definition, it's not that I know of you, it's that I actually know you. I know your intent and commitment to do the right thing. I know that you're a servant leader. I have an understanding of your integrity. So if I'm looking at that under being known, what's interesting to me is that it's going to change across cultures. And even the questions that you might ask in one culture or even in one socioeconomic community or in one particular industry segment, the questions can and most likely should be different. So first, big picture, one of the things I'm doing, I'm working with a corporate culture firm to put an assessment together for credibility that we're going to use both at the corporate level and then also at an individual level. And as it gets rolled out, the question becomes, how relevant is it across multiple groups? And how does the questions potentially need to change based on what I just said? The socioeconomic areas, industry verticals, companies, right? So do they need to be changed over time? So the particular issue with one size fits all is the interpretation of the question. The interpretation, if you're doing an assessment, what does this question mean to one group of people versus another? And if you've done a good enough job explaining what that is, great. But if you haven't, then the end results are going to be flawed. All right. And so one size fits all could fit. It's possible that with the credibility assessment, one size fits all will be great. It may also need to be tailored based on particular vertical that it's being addressed to. So what my expectations were on this assessment is the assessment tells something, and the solution then comes about with a series of potentially existing tools that are already on the marketplace that help achieve the results that are being pointed out by what's missing in the survey. So same thing when you're looking at existing employment engagement surveys, you want to make sure that you include the right survey in the right area so that the questions are being answered appropriately under anonymity, and so they do actually have credibility. All right, so I'm excited about this. Particularly one of the areas that to me is really fascinating is under the pillar of being likable. It's essentially sharing other people. So is the culture one where you actually get to share other people's Credust, or you share the stage with others, and you show respect by essentially showing up when you're showing up, coming early, being prepared, coming with your heart? Is that sort of part of? So if you're looking at the overall culture, or if people are evaluating this on a 360 based on you, is this who you are and how you demonstrate who you are and what you do? And then under the being trustworthy part, are you showing the vulnerability, integrity, authenticity, and are you coachable? Right? So those are the 10 components. And what happens when people are doing this for you, how does it show up? When people are doing this for the organization, the aggregate of everyone, how does that show up? And so it's interesting to think about the differences over time. So should you use different tools across different cultures? I'm going to say probably, maybe. I wish I could say I knew with 100% certainty. It could be using the same tools, but making sure that the understanding of the questions are done such a way that everyone's answering the same question from their perspective. And so my guess is, yeah, you will need to modify things to make them very appropriate for different groups, certainly across cultures. When you're thinking about, like I said, the best way I want to think about credibility, it's who you are. And if it's a company, who is the company? What do they stand for? And that is combined with the perception the outside world has on that person or that company. And so the surveys sometimes get to the outside perception, but then do you really understand, do you really know that person or that entity and what they'll do in all these scenarios? And the types of tools that you use need to be able to get at that. And so this is a conversation I would love to have with anyone anytime. So if you have thoughts, ideas, opinions, questions on this particular area, please let me know, because there is absolute work needed so that we can make it easy for people to understand how credible they are within their organizations and within those people, the audience they serve, and what do they need to do to fix it if there are things that need to be fixed. Let me summarize what I just mentioned. I believe this is a growing field. There's not the 100% perfect answer today. You heard me talk about some of the points on both sides of the equation and the things in the middle. So if this is something that's of interest to you, either because it's something you need to deploy and you want to offer up your organization as an experimental arm, or it's something that you want to be part of helping create, why don't you reach out and let me know, let us know what you're doing, because very interested in figuring out ways in which we can make it easy for people to get a snapshot of their credibility, their character, coupled with the perception that other people have of them, and make the improvements that are necessary. And I hope you found this useful and enjoyable. I am certainly looking forward to re-listening to it and seeing how I would answer it slightly different next time, and what I need to do today to be able to grow my understanding for the future. Thanks a lot. Bye.